Hello guys, today I will tell you the 5 steps that you can do to improve your gameplay and to become a better player. A lot of people these days don't know exactly how to play Yu-Gi-Oh correctly, so I'm gonna provide you with 5 steps that will probably help you in your gameplay and will help you win more games. So without further ado, let's begin. The first one is learn the meta and your deck. What I mean by that is when you're starting to play Yu-Gi-Oh, the first thing you need to do, in my opinion, is to understand how the best decks in the meta work. And after you do that, you need to understand your deck and the capabilities of the deck you choose to pilot. And that because when you're playing against the meta, you need to be aware of what your opponent is trying to accomplish. For example, let's say I play against Rizal, I know exactly what his 1-card combo or their 2-card combo can achieve, so I can manage how to interact with them in their turn or in my turn. For example, I can save my hand traps for duo drive, let's say, if they're playing pure, or I can hand trap the Finsmith combo if they're playing Finsmith, depending always if my deck can play through the Finsmith variant or the pure field, let's say. So the understanding of your deck is playing a very crucial role, because I see a lot of people not understanding how their own deck works. And what I mean by that is that they can't see the line, let's say, that plays through some interruptions. So that will bring me to my second step, which is see the line. You might have heard this phrase before, and what this phrase means is that when you're playing against an opponent that more specifically has put up a board, there are a lot of situations where you can break the board, but you need to see exactly the interactions before they even happen. And that can only be done with practice and by learning your deck to its full possibilities. Of course, that varies depending on the deck you choose to play, so I would advise the new players to play a bit easier deck. So let's say that you want to play Invoked, which has a very low skill ceiling and a low skill floor. That means that it's a bit harder for you to misplay. Now, if you want to pilot a different deck that is a bit more difficult or more meta, you need to put a lot of hours in testing the deck, because what you need to do is play a lot of games in order to see the power level of your deck and to understand what it can and what it can't do. So that will take a few hours, of course, but it will help you understand the power level of your deck, and when you do that, you will finally be able to see a line that can break some boards, because there are a lot of instances where a deck can push through a board, but players do not have the right mastery of the deck yet to achieve that. Another very important thing you can do to be a better player is to learn how to deck build. Deck building is, in my opinion, the most significant part of the game, as most duels are being decided on the balance between engine and non-engine the player has in the deck. And the choice of the correct amount of non-engine and the choice of what those non-engine cards will be will decide the duel. Part of deck build is the side deck, which is also extremely significant because 2/3 of the match are with the side deck. Side decks usually consists of 9 to 12 going second cards and 3 to 6 going first cards that are designed to help you against tough matchups. For example, let's say my deck has a very difficult matchup against Malice, so that means I will spend most of my side deck against anti-Malice cards like Lancia, like Bell, like Chaos Hunter, or maybe even back removal. Now, you also need to have some going first cards, because if you lost a duel, you will decide most probably to go first. So that means you can load your deck with very good going first cards like Floodgates that will almost instantly win you the game if you open them. But you need to have a low amount of these cards in your side deck, because most decks can very easily win if they go first nowadays. That also changes from deck to deck, because some decks are preferably going second, like Tenpai. For example, Tenpai has the opposite amount of going first and going second cards in the side deck, because Tenpai will choose to go second, or it used to, and for that reason they load their side deck with going first cards. So yeah, that always depends on your deck, of course. I should also mention that a very significant part of the side deck is the choice you will make during a duel to replace cards from your deck with those of your side deck. So the choice of what cards those will be is very significant, because, for example, in my top 8 feature match on the Greek Nationals, I did a mistake with the side deck and I chose to replace a going first card with a starter card, and because I replaced my starter card, I had less starters in the deck, and that ultimately lost me the duel, because that specific starter card I put out, I should have another copy in the deck, which I hadn't, so that lost me an entire duel. So yeah, you should learn from those mistakes, and I definitely have. So you need to decide before you even go to a game what cards you want to side out and what cards you want to side in against specific matchups. Another thing that all players should do is to learn rulings. You can win a lot of games because you knew an interaction your opponent didn't, thanks to advanced ruling comprehension against your opponent. For example, I have played a lot of games that my opponent didn't know a specific interaction in my deck, and if they knew the ruling, they would always win that game, but they didn't. So a player can very easily win a duel just because they know a lot more rulings than their opponent. Now, the last thing that you can do as a player to improve your gameplay is to learn body language. And that is not a very easy task to do, but when you play, your opponent might say some stuff like thinking on this action, thinking on summon, or thinking of the activation, for example, the Taji card. So that can mean that my opponent might have Ash Blossom. Now, a lot of players can bluff, which is not very allowed by the rulings, but in most cases they might have something that can disrupt your combo, and depending on which part of your combo they decide to say some specific stuff, you can understand if they have a very specific hand trap. For example, when my opponent is very calm during my combo and he starts thinking after I pass 5 summons, I can very easily understand that he might have Nibiru. So now I can play my combo in a way that plays around Nibiru. So that is very crucial, and you need to understand how to use the body language of your opponent in your advantage, and that can only be done with experience and playing a lot of games. You cannot do it after one day, let's say, but this will definitely help you win a lot of games. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a DM. I have my Discord down below. A lot of people in my previous video came and asked for tips with Memento and for the decklist, and I was very happy to give them help. So please join my Discord, let me know if you have any problems, and I will be happy to help. So don't forget to like and subscribe.